Everyone thinks they can spot a liar. The nervous glance, the fidgeting hands, the story that doesn't quite add up. We've picked up so many clues from crime dramas and body language articles that most of us walk around quietly confident we'd know. And then someone looks us straight in the face, tells us something completely false, and we believe every word of it. Not because we're naive, because lying is far more sophisticated than we've been told, and the people who do it well have something working in their favor that most of us don't fully understand yet. Humans lie. All of us. Studies estimate that people tell 1 to 2 lies per day on average, but that number is misleading. Most people lie far less than that. A small group of people are lying constantly, pulling the average up for everyone else. Researchers call them prolific liars, and they account for the majority of all deception happening around you. Lying isn't evenly distributed. It's concentrated in a few people, and they're very hard to spot because they've had a lot of practice. So why do people lie in the first place? The obvious answers are self-protection, avoiding embarrassment, or getting something they want. But underneath those surface reasons, there's a much darker layer. Some people don't just lie occasionally. They lie as a way of life. And researchers have found that this kind of habitual lying tends to show up in people with specific personality traits. People who are deeply self-absorbed and need to protect their own image. People who see relationships as something to be used rather than valued. And people who simply don't feel guilt the way most of us do. That last group is the most unsettling, because they can look you in the eye, say something completely false, and feel absolutely nothing about it. No discomfort, no internal alarm going off, nothing. Most of us aren't wired that way. For most people, lying is actually hard work, even when it doesn't look like it. Brain scans show that when someone makes something up, the decision-making part of the brain goes into overdrive. It has to hold the truth in mind, build a different version of events, keep that version consistent, and manage the anxiety of possibly being caught, all at the same time. That's a lot happening at once, and that mental effort tends to leak out in small, subtle ways the person isn't even aware of. Your brain picks up on those signals. It just doesn't always tell you clearly what it noticed.
Studies on lie detection show that people are barely better than guessing when they try to consciously figure out if someone is lying. Only right about 54% of the time. But when people stop overthinking it and pay attention to how something feels, the way a story sounds too rehearsed, or the way someone suddenly starts over-explaining, their accuracy goes up. The instinct is often more reliable than the analysis. There are patterns worth knowing. Liars tend to avoid saying I. Instead of I did this, they'll say what happened was. It's a small shift, but it's the brain quietly stepping back from something it knows isn't true. They also tend to over-explain. Real memories are imperfect and scattered. A made-up story often sounds suspiciously clean and easy to follow. And then there's the kind of lying that doesn't look like lying at all, because the person doing it genuinely believes what they're saying. This happens when someone rewrites their own memory over time, convincing themselves they were the victim in a situation where they weren't, or that they never said something they clearly did say. There's no performance happening. They've already accepted their version as the truth. And that makes them almost impossible to catch, because all the usual signs simply aren't there.
There's also a biological pull toward lying for some people. Research shows that getting away with a lie triggers a small rush in the brain, similar to the feeling of a reward. For people who lie habitually, that feeling keeps them coming back, and the more they lie without consequences, the easier it becomes. The guilt fades, the hesitation disappears. What once felt uncomfortable eventually feels like nothing at all. And yet, people still get caught. Not usually through one big dramatic moment, but through slow accumulation. One inconsistency gets quietly noticed, then another. Then something small breaks the pattern and everything suddenly clicks. That's the brain finally connecting dots it had been quietly collecting all along. So what actually helps us catch a lie? Not the dramatic Hollywood version, watching for a single twitch or a darting eye. Real detection is quieter than that. One of the most reliable things to pay attention to is consistency. Ask someone to retell a story in a different order or circle back to an earlier detail later in the conversation. True memories hold up under that kind of pressure. Fabricated ones tend to crack around the edges.
Watch for what researchers call emotional mismatch, when someone's words and their expression don't quite line up. Saying, "I was devastated," while looking oddly flat. Smiling slightly at a moment that doesn't call for it. The emotion and the story are supposed to arrive together. When they don't, something is off. Pay attention to how someone reacts when you ask a simple follow-up question. An honest person will generally answer and move on. Someone managing a lie often does one of two things. They either become strangely defensive or they flood you with extra detail you didn't ask for. Both are the brain working overtime to patch something. And trust the feeling of things being slightly too smooth. Real life is messy. Real stories have gaps, contradictions, and moments the person can't fully explain. A story with no rough edges, one that answers every question before you even ask it, is sometimes the most suspicious story of all. None of this is a reason to walk through life suspicious of everyone around you. Most people, most of the time, are telling you the truth. But understanding what lying really looks like underneath the surface changes the way you listen. Not with paranoia, with a little more awareness. Your instincts were already doing the work. Now you just know what they were picking up on. If this gave you something to think about, a like and subscribe would mean a lot. More videos are coming on the hidden psychology behind the things we do and the things others do without fully realizing why. Thanks for watching.